1. Hellfreezer's note: the following story contains adult themes and very brief but non-graphic descriptions of adult activity. You know the kind of activity I'm talking about. Especially you, there in the back. This happened about 2 or 3 years ago. Buckle up, because it surely is a doozy. So I, 26-year-old woman, am not someone who is scared of sex work, and has a decent amount of experience as a stripper. I've been in and out of the industry since I was about 19. When the lockdown hit, the clubs were dead, so I retired from the industry, then decided to get back into it at a new club around 2022. So it's my first night at this new club, and there are no customers. Nobody is making any money. So dancers and bouncers and shot girls are all chatting amongst each other, myself included. 3 people I met that night, and a fellow dancer, Cindy, 28, female, a shot girl, Mimi, 20, female, and bouncer AJ, 40-something, male. AJ had been hitting on all the girls, and pretty much none of us were about it and shooed him off. Pretty late into the night, Cindy comes up to me upset about not making any money and is worried about getting back to her hotel room because she doesn't have enough to pay for a cab. I asked how far the drive was, and after learning that she was staying right up the road, I offered her a ride. We're getting in my car, and Mimi and AJ followed us. I didn't know they were tagging along, but they can fit in the back seat, so I don't make it out to be a huge deal. So, I am driving the 4 of us to Cindy's hotel, and Cindy is not looking happy at all. We get there, and Cindy and I are near the bathroom, rolling up, and she tells me that she had invited Mimi but did not invite AJ. I know I didn't invite AJ, so obviously Mimi was the one who told him about this little excursion to the hotel room after work. The 2 of them are sitting on the bed flipping through TV channels. I return to the herbs I was rolling. When I look up at them again, the 2 of them are fully making out, so obviously I nudge Cindy to look at them with a WTF kind of face. Next thing you know, Mimi's shorts are off, and Bro's face is just all up in her business, while Cindy and I are literally 6 feet away, rolling up a few blunts for all of us to smoke. I pulled Cindy into the bathroom with both of our finished blunts. Herb was provided by Mimi, by the way, so I asked Cindy, "Girl, what the hell do we do?" Girl just lights a blunt and says, "We smoke her weed because she'd rather hook up with this security." Now, I'm not a big smoker, used to be, but it started giving me wild paranoia, so I cut way back, and now I don't smoke at all, ever. We poke our heads out of the bathroom. The 2 of them are fully down to business. They are having a blast in the hotel room that they aren't paying for, while the girl paying for the room and the girl who drove everyone here are stuck getting high in the bathtub. So Cindy turns to me and says, "You know what, if they want to screw in my hotel room, then I'm gonna get some too." Then she pulls her panties off from under her dress and goes to take a seat on Mimi's face, leaving me alone in the bathroom with a blunt I don't want to smoke, whilst a threesome goes on in the next room. At this point, I'm just racking my brain on how the hell I get out of this situation. All I need to do is walk past them, go to my car, and drive myself home. But I really don't want to just walk past them. If I do, should I say something like, "Well, this was fun," or "Thanks for the free weed I didn't even want in the first place," or "Have fun with your threesome"? I was honestly hoping that one of them would come invite me to join so I would be able to say, "Actually, I'm a head out, but I hope y'all have a blast." If only I were so lucky, because about 3 minutes after Cindy decided to join in on the fun, she walks back into the bathroom saying, "Girl, they kicked me out." Now she is crying because she feels unsexy and disrespected, and had also been drinking. I was not drinking at all that night, but I'm left consoling her, saying, "What can I do to make this situation better? How can I help you stop crying?" Cindy says, "I want to see my boyfriend. Can you drive me to my boyfriend?" You surprised Pikachu meme face. But I say yes, if it's the only thing that will make her stop crying. And I will also not tell your boyfriend the way you just fully cheated on him by trying to engage in a threesome with a couple of strangers we met at the strip club tonight. Mostly because I'm just dying to get out of this goddamn hotel room and bathroom. Okay, how far away does her boyfriend live? He's in a city that is almost an hour drive away. But I can't just not take her and leave her at the hotel room where she was kicked out of a threesome and crying about it. So back into my car we go. By the way, I am totally sober. I had taken one hit off the blunt, and again, I hadn't drank at all that night. Also, it's 3 a.m. at this point. 1 hour of letting Cindy control the radio and my Spotify account later, I meet the boyfriend. Let's call him James. So, now I'm driving Cindy and James back to the hotel. Meanwhile, us girls are singing along to No Scrubs by TLC, when James starts accusing me of hooking up with Cindy, and us being in a relationship behind his back just because we're both singing along to a goddamn bop together on this drive. Literally just trying to make light of a bad situation. Straight up, I'm literally the only person not gotten any action on this particular night with anyone. So, they argue, and we make it back to the hotel. The two of them start getting out, and I keep my butt planted in my driver's seat. Cindy asks me if I'm coming back in, and I say, "Hell no, I think I'll pass in this mess." Also, it's 5 a.m., and I'm tired. So they gather their belongings from my car and go up to the hotel room to deal with the very inappropriately aged naked couple who are surely cuddled up under the covers watching TV inside Cindy's hotel room. And I drive home completely dumbfounded. I then proceed to never set foot in that club again until the day I die. 2. There's a saying in data science, garbage in, garbage out. It doesn't matter how elegantly you process information if that information was bad to begin with. And that is exactly what I did the other night regarding some weed math. I've only been using weed for about 1.5 years. Started at the recommended amount and slowly worked up my dosage. By about 1 year ago, I got a new dealer who sold me some edibles he claimed were 150 milligrams each. So I tried 1/6 of it, and felt almost nothing. So every week at the start of the weekend I would do a little more until I found the right amount for me. 3/4 of the edible. Now, I thought it was crazy that I needed 112.5 milligrams for a good high. For context, I know that 40 milligrams is viewed by some as a hero's dose. But that's what my math said, and the edibles were cheap, so I just went with it. Then a couple of months back, my dealer dropped off, and I was on the search for new edibles. Found a new shop who sold edibles for double the price and only 60 milligrams. But you take what you can get. I knew it was the wisest to start slow. Deep down, I knew that if I was going with online recommendations that I should only be doing something like 10 to 25 milligrams. But that would be nothing to me. Ha! I could handle this. So, figured that the 60 milligrams, nearly half of what I should be used to, was a great starting point. An hour later, I was naked, sitting in my shower, breathing my way through a panic attack. It felt like all the times you mess up as a kid and don't know what the consequences are going to be when you get caught. You just know it's going to be bad. Wave after wave of terror rolled over my body. After throwing up, I was able to clean up and lie in bed. I felt the forces of gravity and the waves of light pulling and twisting my body. If I tried to turn to be on my side, pain washed over me. The only thing I could do was lay on my back with my arm blocking all light from hitting my eyes. Eventually I fell asleep and woke up towards the end of the trip. I noticed the snacks I had prepared for what I thought was going to be a great night. I gingerly fed myself back to full strength, and have recommitted to following the wise recommendations of the internet. 3. This happened a long time ago when I was 16. Our school participated in the International Baccalaureate program that allowed us to take some intense classes and finish high school with a lot of college credits. Even if you didn't complete the entire program, the courses were great college prep. I decided my junior year of high school that I would take IB French, which was completely immersive. Our teacher required us to answer everything in French. Want to go to the restroom? Oui. Ask in French. I have a question about the homework. Ask in French. C'est la merde. She assigned the entire first chapter the first day of class due the next day. Every exercise from beginning to end. It was 20 pages. The class originally had 20 people signed up, however, the assignment left the class with only 5 of us. With students willing to put in the work, our teacher worked hard to give us an all-round education in French. We read French novels, watched French TV, discussed French history and politics. Keep in mind, this is the late 90s, so the internet was not readily available. We also lived in central Appalachia, so just having this program was an amazing opportunity, but our resources were limited. She went above and beyond to give us work that was both hard and interesting. I remember reading Asterix and Obelix comics in French, and I once had a scavenger hunt around my school in total French directions. Needless to say, my teacher was always trying a variety of ways to keep us working on our French skills. One day, she had us reading a French magazine for translation. I believe it was Le Monde. And in the middle of class, she tells us she has a great idea. While we were working, she was looking into the classified section of the paper, just curious to see what is sold, who is interested in what topic, etc. There, among all the want ads, was an advertisement about a Frenchman in a maximum security prison in Colorado, looking for someone to write in French. His name was Lupin, and it gave us an address to write to. Wouldn't that be a great way to sharpen our French and writing skills? Here is where the 5 of us screwed up first. We all immediately got out our papers and began writing to this Lupin, no questions asked. Now, it wasn't complete stupidity on our part. We didn't give our full names and addresses, but mailed from our school, which admittedly isn't much of a cover for any of us since we are a very rural area and would be easy to find. But we write our letters, which I know dates my age. If you ever wrote letters to a complete stranger, the first letter is usually introducing yourself to the receiver. Bonsoir. Telling about yourself, your life, your family, which of course we did. Do you know what we didn't do? We didn't think that a guy in prison with the ability to place an ad in Le Monde would be that serious of a criminal. And at first he wasn't. The first letter he wrote back that our teacher was an angel and our letters were a bright spot in an otherwise dark existence. He wrote about how lonely it had been without an opportunity to interact with his native language. He eagerly looked forward to our correspondence. So, our little pen pal situation continued, until Lupin decided that we needed to hear his tragic tale of woe. Keep in mind, we were high school students, so our translation skills were not professional. But what I can remember from the letter, it went like this. Lupin was just a simple man. He arrived in America to gain the American dream. He began by running a business and exporting leather goods, but found that he needed connections to get his inventory into the country. Enter a partner, who assured him he can get his cargo into America without too much delay with customs. Of course, he had no idea that this partner was running drugs. How could he? It wasn't until his business got raided that he discovered all the money he had been getting from the partner just happened to be laundered in his export business. At least that's what the FBI explained when he was arrested. So, now our French class was in a dilemma. We had been writing this guy, and honestly, we hadn't given any thought to why he was in Colorado. Still, we certainly hadn't thought we would stumble onto a mob money launderer who thought we were angels and told us he would eventually get out in a few years. None of us really wanted to continue this. Luckily, school was finishing, and we all agreed that it would be best if we all conveniently forgot about this. Au revoir, mon ami. We also never told anyone. Not out of some solidarity, but it didn't cross our minds that this was something our parents needed to know. Besides, our teacher knew. Who else needed to? Our senior year starts, and our IB French teacher comes in and asks which one of us told Lupin about her birthday. Blank stares all around. We didn't know her birthday. She tells us she got a birthday card from Lupin at her home address. We also didn't know that either, because while our tiny Appalachian town didn't have extensive internet, apparently his prison did. Or at least that was the only logical conclusion we could come up with. So, complete no contact with Lupin, and the rest of the year, we all dreaded the idea that he had the ability to find where we lived. I now teach at this same school with the French teacher, and we both marvel at the fact that she gave us the assignment of writing an unknown prisoner with no concern to our safety, and that we, as students, willingly participate with these letters without telling anyone. So I learned just because the teacher says, allons-y, you might want to think about the unintended consequences to that assignment. 4. I'm boycotting Great Clips. For years I'd gone to Great Clips for a haircut. I had a lady there that did a great job cutting my hair for years. Before my wedding 3.5 months ago, I changed to a proper barber. Went to them for a few months. Funds have been low lately, so I decided to go back to Great Clips for the cheaper haircut, as it was next to the grocery store I was going to. Walk in, no problem, and sit down. It's Great Clips, they aren't busy. Same lady I had before. Cool. She asks what I want for my hair, so I tell her, same as before. She then asks about my beard. At this point, I had been growing it for about 7 months, and it was about 5 or so inches. I'd had occasional maintenance by my new guy and trimmed as needed, but it was getting to where I wanted it, and my wife loved it but thought it needed some maintenance by my guy. Here's where I made the mistake. I trusted this lady with my hair, but I hadn't seen her since I grew my beard. Unfortunately, I told her maybe cut a 1/2 inch off and clean up the sides. The haircut was great, but gentlemen, she has done me wrong. She whipped out the trimmers, and before I could say much, she cut about 4 inches off down the center. To her credit, I didn't have my glasses on, so it took a couple of swipes to realize what happened. I was literally speechless. I knew there was no coming back. She honestly didn't do a terrible job at doing what she envisioned, but it wasn't what I envisioned. As I drove home after getting the groceries, my wife called, telling me she was on her way home. Usual, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I ended the call with, I look quite different. You'll see at home, and we hung up. As I'm taking the trash out, she pulls in, sees me, and smiles. As she gets out of the car, she says, "Hey, handsome." We walk inside and I ask, "What do you think?" She knows me and says my exact thoughts. It's not what you wanted. Life moves on, never going back to Great Clips, but still tipped her $8. Turns out beard mutilations cost $10, so it actually costs more than my guy I normally go to. Wife is annoyed. Day before Valentine's Day, I went from a 10 to a 9.9 in my wife's opinion. 5. I stayed out of state for a month, working for a guy for cash. When I was done and finally made the long drive home, I got back at 3 a.m. I had been up for roughly 30 hours and I immediately went to bed. A couple of hours later, I get a call from the guy that sent me for the work. He had already had my hours tracked and agreed to on the drive home, but he called early ready to give me the money. I thought I was dreaming because, dude, I just got back. But no, he was like, "No, I'm paying you." I wasn't going to argue, so I got dressed and went downstairs to invite him in quick. Well, he was in his vehicle, so I was like, man, I gotta go out in the snow. So I put on some light shoes and went outside and shut the door behind me. Immediately realizing I didn't twist the handle all the way when I opened my door. It won't unlock the handle's lock if you don't fully twist it. Well, now he gets out and we meet halfway between my locked door and his vehicle, and he hands me the type of amount of money that won't let you go back to sleep if you tried, you know? But I'm locked out, and too embarrassed to say anything about it. So, I'm in the snow, trying to mess with my front door with my phone's flashlight, and my old hotel room key in the dark, with what I'm hoping to use as a down payment for a house, just sitting in my pocket. Well, the police showed up after 15 minutes. It was easy to prove I lived there, and the one definitely cooler cop, although not as cool as I was by that point, was laughing and said he never found someone breaking into a house with a large amount of money. They helped me get in through my sliding glass door, which reminded me to immediately deposit the cash when my bank opened, because holy crap, it was easy for them to open that. I don't know which neighbor called the police on me, but they meant well, and I know that, and appreciate them. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Embarrassing Stories, episode 113. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do hit the like button and subscribe if you'd be so good. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can do that by signing up for my Patreon page, which is linked in the description. $1 or more a month is super helpful. You'll also find a link to my merchandise store in there, and you can leave a tip for this or any other video by clicking on the heart with a $sign underneath. Okay, no other business today, so let's move on to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, tagging on from the last story, have you ever gotten locked out of your house? I came close once. I had a dodgy door handle, right? And got to the point I'd left the house to do something. I came back, I'd done what I had to do, and I could not get the handle to go down. The door was unlocked, but the handle was stuck. After a couple of minutes of very firmly pushing and hoping it would work, it eventually relented and let me in. And it's actually the same handle. It's been working fine more or less since, but for some reason it didn't want to budge that particular day. So have you had any problems with getting locked out of the house? And if so, how did you resolve it? Leave your answers in a comment below. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And this one comes from Embarrassing Stories, episode 112. And the question was, how often do you find it acceptable to mop a floor? And today's answer comes from... And today's answer comes from Juana Legrand. Between 1 and 2 times a day in summer, and 1 in winter. Thank you very much for your answer, Juana Legrand. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. Done recording for the week, yay. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.